Do you have any life updates for the people?
I just moved out of my apartment yesterday. I'm moving to California.
Temporarily, question mark?
We don't know, question mark.
If you guys are confused about Lauren is over the next 3 months, it's because
So
she's
am I.
not with me. And
I will also be confused about my life. For the first time in my entire life, my whole future is wide open.
that's crazy.
It's kind of scary. We need to get our energy up.
Yeah.
Woo, 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 woo.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of What They Don't Say with Shannon and Lauren. Today we are, I forgot you wanted to say this part.
Today, we are going to be recording an episode that is probably one of our most requested episodes and has the most amount of questions asked within it. So we think that this will probably be helpful for so many people out there. At least we hope it's helpful. Essentially, we are going to be going down a list of questions and answering these questions, giving our advice. That's really just all about, should I go through the legal route? Should I pursue the legal route for a sexual assault case? Which can be a really tough decision to make. And there's a lot of things that go into it. And there's just a lot of like nuances and like darkness. I think like when you look at whether or not to pursue a court case, a legal route, there's just a lot of unknowns and that can feel really, really scary. So today we're just going to try to kind of shed some light on what it could be like, answer some questions, and hopefully allow you guys to then make more informed decisions that are best for yourself.
This isn't an episode where we're going through different ways that you could go through a legal route, whether that's like Title IX or a court martial or something like that. This is just an overarching like bird's eye view of the court process as a whole. You know, it's a conversation all the time of like, what am I supposed to do? Should I go through this process? What happens if I don't get justice? Or what happens if he's not found guilty or whatever? We're just going to dive right in. So as we had mentioned, we've gotten a lot of questions and comments about this topic as a whole, but it was really inspired by someone that had written in their story, and they sent us like 10 different questions within it of, you know, relating to the court process. And I was like, Lauren, we just have to do a full episode. Like these responses simply cannot be contained to an email. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that for the person that wrote in, thank you for writing in. And this is inspired by a lot of you, but especially by you.
For some people, going through a legal process is not the way to get justice. And justice looks different for literally everybody. And so I would just keep that in mind for yourself, right? Like if you're listening to all this and you still think, oh, like, I don't think this is for me, that's totally okay. We're not here to tell you guys what to do. We're here to just give some advice and see if that can help you guys in any way. First question is, when thinking about a legal process, a court process, how do I stay strong through all of it? That's a fucking loaded question.
The answer is that you don't stay strong through it. Just point blank, you simply won't, you can't, it's impossible. Because more likely than not, if you're pursuing a court case, it's going to take longer than you ever thought that it would. And I mean, think about anything that you're doing for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It's impossible to just be like fully together during that entire process.
There's definitely going to be times when you do like lose your shit and like have mental breakdowns and like all that stuff, which is totally normal. And I that's really, really healthy. Let's be real. Like you should be crying. You should be getting angry. You should be feeling a lot of shit during this. But I will say that there are things you can do to help get yourself through the process in ways that just make it a little bit easier, right? Like telling the people you trust most. It took me so long to tell anyone that I was going through a court process. Like I was just so scared to, but then finally I slowly started to tell my like closest friends, and they were all so fucking supportive. They all cared and loved me so much, and just them knowing that they knew what I was going through made it a little bit easier. Like if I was having a bad day, they didn't need me to talk about it. They just knew. They just knew why I was having that bad day. They knew it was because I was going through this process, and they were just there to support me. We didn't have to talk about it. Like it was just something that existed. They were aware about it, and they then could just, you know, support me in that way with whatever I needed throughout any of those like really shitty days. And same with like family members, like having your family members know, but also like therapy. Like having a professional that you are talking to every single week about what is going on can really, 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 really make a huge fucking difference.
Not to mention that you legally are probably not allowed to talk a whole lot about the case that's going on whether your friend was also assaulted by the same person. You probably won't be allowed to talk to that friend, or just there's certain information that is pertinent to the case that you can't share, but you can share it with a therapist. So that's why it's like ultra important that you have someone to confide in, because otherwise this shit's just going to stay inside of you. But overall, you're not going to be able to stay strong, and you just have to know that. Like, it's important to recognize the good days and boost those and say, like, it's okay to have a good day. But overall, you just need to know that you're not going to stay strong throughout this process, period. And that's okay.
I think there are times you're going to feel strong. I don't think it's like you're going to feel not strong throughout the whole thing. I think there's just going to be days where you don't feel strong or you don't feel great. And that's okay. You know, like, there's a lot of different outlets to, like, physical fitness or boxing or, like, things like that are also really helpful when you're just feeling so much that you need to, like, physically do something.
Or if you're feeling weak, that's maybe a way to make yourself feel strong.
Yeah.
Physically.
Finding ways to bring that strength back into who you are right outside of this shitty, crazy, whole gross, messy process. Next question. What if people think I'm lying because I didn't fight him off, or that I stayed for a while in the morning, or that I showered in the morning? Let's first talk about that, like, fighting off. It's first important to understand that most rape survivors do not fight
At all.
right? Like, when they are being raped, they don't fight. Like, that is a very, 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 very normal response.
It's a trauma response. And so for yourself, you need to know that the defense attorney will most likely say that because you didn't fight them off, it can't be assault. Like, they're going to try to find pieces of your story to tear apart. Like, that will happen. But what you need to know for yourself, because what's most important here is how you think about your assault when going through this process, when everybody's trying to tear it apart, is to understand that it is more normal to freeze than it is to fight. Mm-hmm. And that's why they're the four main trauma responses are fight, flies, freeze, are fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, because that's how our bodies respond. So you need to really trust that. Fighting back does not define whether you are assaulted or raped. So you just need to trust that while everybody's tearing it apart.
Yeah. And, like, a lot of times in a court case, they will bring a psychologist in to talk about that, because it is, like, a natural response. Like, animals do it as well. They freeze. Like, we see that in bunnies. Like, we see that in a lot of different animals. When they get scared, they freeze. That is a literal natural instinct in us. And so for the fact that it's still being used to argue against assault survivors is honestly really fucking crazy.
It's also it's an uneducated
uneducated argument that will hopefully then be backed by an educated psychologist who goes in and goes, whoa, actually, like, that's normal. Most survivors don't. We need to start getting rid of that narrative that it's only rape if you fought to the death, right? Like, that is such bullshit. We need to take that and just throw it out the fucking window and keep fighting for ourselves and for other survivors. And part of that fight is realizing that, hey, freezing is normal response. I'm going to own that shit, and I'm going to own my story because I'm telling the truth. That can be really, really hard. But when you can find ways to validate it and own it in yourself, it can make it a lot easier when you're then going through these court processes.
I do remember when we were getting prepped for court, our head prosecutor had said, just so you know, you need to be prepared because defense is going to say, why didn't you fight? And you need to have an answer. And he was like, I know that you didn't fight back because you had a trauma response, but you still need to have an answer to that question. And I think my answer in court was like, I couldn't. Like, I just felt like I couldn't move.
Yeah.
Which is okay. And you just know that you're not going to have a perfect response to that.
Aside from trauma responses, many survivors don't fight because, like, this person's already trying to rape you or is raping you. If you try to fight, they will probably just fucking hit you or kill you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there is also that genuine fear of, like, well, they're already raping me. If I try to fight back, like, maybe they're much bigger than you or stronger than you. Like, they could literally actually physically cause me more harm than they're already causing me. And that's also a strong deterrent. Whether or not you realize it, that's also part of what's going on in your head.
It's a survival instinct.
Yeah.
Like, your brain is literally thinking, how can I make it out of this situation alive? Because that's the level of threat that your body experiences when being assaulted.
But then there's also the question of, like, what if people think I'm lying because I stayed in the morning or that I showered in the morning? And I think
which can be put into the context of, like, what if they think I'm lying because I'm still friends with them? Or what if they think I'm lying because it's my boyfriend? Or what if they think I'm lying because I never said anything about it. Like, I think it can all fit in there.
When I was assaulted, I didn't tell anyone. I like even like stayed in contact with the person. Like I was just in so much denial because I didn't understand what had happened to me. And so I kind of just went business as usual throughout my life.
Yeah.
You know, because I was just like, I think that could have been that. Like it could have been rape, but like I don't really know. Like I'm just going to brush it off. Or like maybe you just haven't internalized what happened. And so there's so many reasons for why survivors act in those ways, and it might not make sense to a lot of society, but like I said before, if you can, you know, internalize that and understand why you acted in the way you can, it can really help when you're going through these processes.
This question of what if they think I lied because blank will be asked of you, like in court. Like this is going to be a thing of defense will use those points against you. And we just want to be transparent with all of our answers and know that we're not trying to discourage you from going through the court process necessarily. We're just trying to inform you in a way where you know what to expect. And every case is different, but just you are going to get torn apart. They are going to say, well, if you were actually assaulted, why would you have stayed that night? But for yourself, once again, because really what's most important here is making sure that you are okay. And you need to understand that just because you stayed does not mean you weren't assaulted. It also falls into the survivor instinct. The root of this question is, what if they think I lied? They probably will think that you lied. Like defend the person.
That's their job.
Yeah, that is quite literally their job, is to believe that you are a liar and that the perpetrator has done no wrong, that they are, you know, a saint, and trying to paint you as a manipulative, lying piece of shit who just wants revenge.
In order to get the true answers to these questions, that's why like therapy can be really helpful, especially if you're doing it while you're going through the court process, because then like when you do have to answer these questions, you understand why you did it, you have worked through why you did it, you have that answer in your brain. But also the fact that for like anyone who has written in with questions like this, the fact that you are thinking about these questions is actually really good, because you're thinking about them, you're thinking about the answers, you're working through and healing through that process. You're hopefully working with a therapist when trying to get these answers. And so then if you are to go into a legal process, you know why you did this shit, and it is much easier to own that truth. Okay, moving along. How do I continue going on if he gets away with it all? What if they think it's not possible for him to have assaulted me because I drove him to get his car in the morning? That second piece, I think, really goes to like what we were just talking about, right? Like there can just be a lot of denial going on. Like you have no idea what the fuck just happened to you. Like you're kind of just going business as usual because like, frankly, maybe you just like want the situation to end smoothly as possible so you can just like move on with your life. And so maybe for you, you were like, well, he needs to get to his car. I'll just drive him there. I'll drop him off. I'll be done with it. Moving along with my life, you know? So I think there's so many reasons why we do that. But also there can be just like so much like you want to pretend like it didn't happen. And so if you just act normal, then like maybe in your mind you can convince yourself it didn't happen. Fine. And then like it'll be easier to move along with your life, which I'm sure a lot of us have done that, and we all know that's obviously not the case, unfortunately. Like, we can't just snap our fingers and have that be over with, pretend like it didn't happen and move on. And so for you, like, maybe that's why you stayed in the morning or you showered, you dropped him off, because you were just like, I'm just going to act normal and pretend like this is normal so that I can just, like, maybe get out of this unscathed in a way.
And for that sort of first part of the question is, what, like, how will I be okay if he's not found guilty? So let's just like pause this whole conversation for a moment. Before you, I didn't do this, and I know that I don't think you did this, but I wish I had gone through this thought process before going through the court process or before pursuing a court case. I wish I had sat there and thought, I need to be okay with whatever the result is of this case, because yes, I'm doing this in the hopes that they will be found guilty and that they will be behind bars. But ultimately, you're also doing this for your own sense of justice. And you don't have control whether a jury finds this person guilty or a judge finds this person guilty or if that restraining order goes through. But you have to be okay with whatever they say, because ultimately, like I said, you don't have control over that, but you have control over yourself, and you have control over the choice to pursue this process. And you need to understand that whatever the outcome is, it will be. And that's hard. It doesn't mean it's going to be an easy reality to not expect, an easy reality to accept, but it's one that you have to know exists. Only 975 out of 1,000 perpetrators will walk free. So it is more likely that nothing will happen, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't pursue a case, because it's more than just that final verdict.
Right. But then also, if we want to start changing that stat that Shannon just said, then we need to start doing more legal proceedings. We need to continue to keep fighting and fighting. But like, in my mind, regardless of what happens in the end, whether they're found guilty or not guilty, if you go through this process, at least you know you fucking tried. And at least you know you fucking fought for it, regardless of what happened in the end. And like, once again, this might not be justice for everyone, and this might not be how you find justice for yourself. For me, there are definitely times when I wanted to quit because I was so scared of that like end part. But I am so fucking glad that I kept fighting, and I just kept fighting. And so like, yes, it can be really scary to sit and think, well, what if he like walks free? But even if he does, at least you fucking fought for it.
No matter how far a case gets, if somebody is notified that the authorities are looking into them for any sort of sexual violence, that's gonna leave a mark on their head.
That's gonna scare the shit out of them.
Yeah, whether they believe it or not, or whether they act scared or not, that is still pinning them as like, hey, motherfucker, I know what you did.
Yeah.
Someone else might not find you guilty for it, but just know that I fucking know, and I'm looking into you.
Yeah, that's very true. Like, even if the perpetrator walks free, they still got some sort of consequence of like going through like any sort of legal proceeding and knowing that like they could have gotten absolutely fucked.
If I am like putting myself into a perpetrator's shoes, which sounds so disgusting, but if you had to sit there and think, oh my gosh, what if I'm found guilty on trial? Like, what if I go to jail for this? Like, how are people going to think of me? Like, that's going to create some emotional turmoil for them as well.
Unless you're a fucking sociopath or psychopath, which
that also
they're
happens.
out there. But no, that's like a really good point. And I think that's like something to really think about too, is that at least you're scaring the fucking shit out of them.
Yeah.
So
which
maybe
is
that can give you a peace of mind.
That's also kind of like a point of power and strength, I think. If you pursue a court case, the other person, the person who assaulted you, has no choice but to sit there and fucking take it. And that's a really beautiful picture, because that's what they did to you. And no, it's almost like a turning tables, but in a fully justified legal route.
Okay, the next question was, what if none of the other girls come forward? This, I would say, is not a reason to not do a court proceeding. Like, we had no idea if any other girls were going to be found, if any other girls were going to come forward, if they would be witnesses, if they would testify. Like, I just think that it happened to you, and that's what's important. And yes, there's probably other girls out there, and hopefully those girls, or just survivors in general, will come forward and like speak their truth and help with the case and help shed all the light on everything that's happened.
Yeah.
But the important thing is that like, it happened to you. Go speak your truth. And if other girls follow, that's amazing. And if they don't, that's okay, because it is still your truth, regardless of if other people are there or not. It can be validating to have other girls come forward, but you don't need that validation. Like, you got it within you.
One is enough. That's
one
not
is too many.
Yeah,
you know
one
what I
is too
mean?
many, yeah.
Like, that's, yeah.
And I really love that answer. And it's not to say that there isn't strength in numbers, because I do believe that there are, but you can't necessarily convince somebody else to do this. Now, with that being said, if you know that there are other girls who have been impacted by this and you are considering pursuing a legal case, I think it is perfectly acceptable to sit down and have a conversation with them, like a one-on-one thing of, hey, I know that so-and-so did this to you. They did it to me too. I'm going to pursue a legal case. If you want to do it too, just know that I'll be doing it as well. Not pushing them or anything, but just say, hey, I'm just letting you know.
In our case, there were other women and they didn't press charges, but they were willing to come and be witnesses.
Well, they had to, but they were subpoenaed.
But the point is that even if the other girls don't press charges, there is other ways for them to be part of the court process, even if it's by being subpoenaed.
Yeah.
Which is just a reality of these things.
Yeah. To reiterate Lauren's point, don't not pursue a case because other people won't be involved, because you and what you have to say about what happened to you is enough.
Okay, so the next question is, if I didn't get a rape kit and it's been a really long time, so there's not really much evidence, should I still proceed with the legal route?
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. Most rape cases have no fucking evidence. Like, if you have like one piece of evidence, if you like one text or just like literally anything, then you are in a better spot than most rape cases. Like, I didn't have a fucking SANE kit. Like, most women probably don't. Most survivors probably don't. Like, do not let that deter you from going through this and like fighting for what happened to you and fighting for justice. Like, there are a million things that could be used to quote unquote scare you away from this. Don't let this be one of them. Don't let people sit there and tell you, well, like, there's not a fucking video proof of it happening. Like, no, fuck those people. Just like, you should still go for it.
The majority of assault cases, like you were saying, don't have very much evidence because this is a crime that happens between two people, oftentimes behind closed doors. Like, even in my scenario, I did have a rape kit and there was like literal semen found in my vagina, but the whole argument is still, was it consensual or not? And that's where the question lies. And so it's your story. It's your fucking truth. And also, this is a very tricky route to go down, but I'm going to say it because I think it's important to know that if you ever did talk about it in therapy, you have to be careful with this, but the court can sometimes access your mental health records if like you release them and if your therapy releases them.
You can release like one note from therapy that says when you told it. That's what happened with me. It was like my therapist would not release all my records. He only released the one page, the one day that I told him about the assault.
If you did talk to your therapist about it, then potentially that could be a piece of evidence as well. But that's a really tricky route to go down. Make sure you have like a long conversation with your attorney if that is a route.
Yeah.
But overall, you should absolutely still pursue it, even if you have very, very little evidence.
That whole like mental health record thing is so fucking stupid because like if you have like anxiety and depression on your records, it's probably because of the fucking rape and they're gonna like use that against you. Like, how is that? Part of me thinks that like might not be legal everywhere anymore though to use mental health records against.
I think there's always routes to go around everything is what I feel like I've learned is that some states may have a law that like protects survivors from ever showing their records, but like if that was my only piece of evidence that I had, I would fucking want it to be available for
and then I would just make sure my attorneys use the like depression on my records as like, well, yeah, she's fucking depressed, she was raped, right? What the fuck are you talking about? Right. Yeah. So the next question was, what if he, as in the perpetrator, calls me a liar? Honestly, who gives a fuck? Like, you have nothing to be ashamed about. You're not a liar. He's the fucking rapist. He has everything to be ashamed about. So I just like, yeah, no shit, he's gonna call you a liar because he's gonna say anything to like protect himself because he knows the truth that he is a fucking rapist.
Perjury will take place 100p.
At the end of the day, you're not lying. You're telling the truth. He's the rapist. He has everything to be ashamed of. So yeah, he might call you a liar. He might call you other names.
He probably will.
Who gives a fuck? You know the truth. And he is just like saying anything out of his asshole to protect himself.
And also, your perpetrator might not testify because they are not legally required to. And I wasn't excited for ours to testify, but I was like, I'm curious about what this motherfucker is going to say. What sort of lies is this man going to pull out of his ass? But then he didn't testify. And so that's, one thing. But another thing that I was thinking about is the fact that,
Oh, no. Well, that's the other thing, too, is that, like, if a perpetrator does testify, he's not going to go up on the stand and call you a liar.
No, think about that'll make him look
bad.
Really bad.
Yeah, that'll make him look so fucking bad. And so, like, if you're worried about something like that happening in the actual legal proceedings, like, if he were to, like, attack you or call you bad names or things like that, like, that would just be used against him.
Yeah, that's kind of along lines of the things that I was thinking about, is that every communication that happens in a court case is between the attorney and the person on the stand. It is never like, the perpetrator and the victim having a conversation. They'll both most likely be in the room, but it's never a direct communication like that. And like, if you're a victim on the stand, you might be asked, is your rapist in this room? And you'll say yes. And then maybe they'll say, point to them. It'd be like that. But more likely than not, if a perpetrator is on a stand, the type of questioning is not going to be, oh, so are you saying that so-and-so is lying? It will be, are you saying that you didn't assault so-and-so? Or are you saying that you consensually had sex with so-and-so?
And then the next question was like, what if everything becomes public? And it makes living more difficult than it already is. Legally, yeah, your name as the victim cannot be used in public. Like, it can't be used in news reports. It can't be put out there. Like, It literally cannot. They can use the perpetrators' names in news reports of the court case, but they cannot use your name. Like, if you look at any of like the most famous cases, like the Brock Turner case, like Chanel Miller's name was never said. And there was like hundreds of news reports on this. And so if that's something you're concerned about, like that cannot happen. If it does happen, like then that's a whole fucking lawsuit. And that's just one of those things of like, you know, when you talk about it to people, just make sure they're your people you really trust and that you're really close with, and you know they'll have your back. They're not gonna like go around like talking about it, which like if they do, then they're not very good fucking friends and you should not be friends with them anymore. So there are legal protections to ensure it doesn't go public, and then also just, you know, like keep in mind who you talk to about it.
And we've said this in a previous episode, but it's up to you if you want to like speak about it on the internet or make any sort of public conversation happen about the case. But you should be very, very hyper aware. News stations should absolutely not be putting your name out on anything. But if you are choosing to put your name out there, you need to be aware that that could potentially harm your case. It all becomes part of evidence. If you're sharing your story on TikTok when your case is actively going on in court, your story on TikTok might be compared to your story that you're saying on the stand. So that's just something to keep in mind. But overall, your name should be kept out of all documents. Like, that's not legally okay. So the only way that your name would be out there is if you put it out there, or if someone is doing some serious fucking buffoonery.
Like, there was some news reports on our case and our names were not.
No, it was like named. Females or a child, things like that. But there wasn't even identifying details of us at all. It was just like women.
So the next question, what if I say the wrong thing or the wrong phrase?
Oh.
We have talked about this in an episode before when we talked about our investigation.
That was in episode 4.
And so for me, I think this is stupid. Like, you should be able to talk about your story in whatever way makes you most comfortable. But in legal proceedings, I would just slow down. Like, you might be really fucking nervous. Obviously, you're really fucking nervous. Yeah. But just like, take a deep breath, slow down, be self-aware of like the things that you are saying, be paying attention to what you're saying. We're not telling you to like change anything. Just like be aware of how you're telling your story and like how you tell it every single time you tell it, if that makes sense. Shannon like has experience. Like, yeah, you can talk.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure I can't recall if we talked about this in episode 4, but I'll like briefly run through it. So I had an experience where I had some words get jumbled quite a bit, and it was really torn apart in court. And essentially, when I went in for my initial interview with the people that were investigating our case, and when I initially went in, I had said that I had pranced away from him, from my assailant at one point. And I also used other words like, I clarified after, like, I don't mean like prance as in a happy prance, but like I quickly got away from him. I've never fucking say the word prance ever. Like, I don't think I've ever used that word in my entire life except for in that moment. But I was nervous when telling my story. You know, it's scary. It's intimidating. You're in a quiet room and you're with these two strangers and you're telling them a recent story about your assault. But anyways, so then flash forward, once I was in court, the defense attorney said, well, in your initial interview, which in theory is one of the more accurate and potentially recent accounts of your assault, you said pranced. That doesn't sound like someone who's afraid of the person. That sounds like someone who's delighted with joy. And long story short, that's just an example where it's okay if you fuck your words up. You probably will fuck your words up, even if you are taking a moment to stay calm and breathe. But just know that you can clarify things. And if you're afraid of messing your words up, especially in like a particular part of your story that's either like extra emotional or hard for you to remember, talk to your attorney beforehand and say, I'm worried I might mess my words up. So if this doesn't sound right, can you be the one to ask me a clarifying question? Because defense, if you fuck something up, they're just going to be like, woohoo, they screwed up. But your attorney's job is to make sure that your story is displayed as authentically and honestly as possible. So it's on them to ask you those clarifying questions.
I mean, it's fucking stupid that like little words like that can be used against you. At the end of the day, like the defense's only kind of route when it comes to most sexual assault cases is like they have to find little tiny details that they can somehow turn into something big because they have nothing else to go off of. They have no evidence to prove that this did not happen. So they have to like make shit up.
Their job, it doesn't have to be in even a big way. Like it could just be a bunch of little things to create reasonable doubt. That's their job.
Yes, some of the words that maybe you choose to use could become an annoying thing in the court case, which is why I like said the advice of like, you're gonna be nervous, slow the fuck down and breathe.
Chill.
But don't like hyper focus on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just tell your truth
As authentically as you possibly can.
Yeah. And that's all you can do.
Like when talking about it, it could seem like this is like a minimized experience, but let's just make it really clear that being in court for this is absolutely terrifying. If you spent 3 years waiting for this one day where you get to testify, like that's a lot of pressure. That is scary. Just to reiterate that it is a big deal, and it's okay if you're very nervous, even if you've told your story 30 times, which by the time you testify, you will probably have told your story many times.
Overall, when it comes to testifying in court, like it can be really nerve-wracking. I was so fucking nervous, like unbelievably nervous. But then for some reason, the second I walked into that courtroom and it was like walking up to the stand, I had all the power, it felt like. And like I actually felt empowered and I felt like a fucking badass because I was going up there to speak my truth and do everything that I could to take this perpetrator down. And so like you might be thinking, I am never going to have a moment like that throughout this court case. And trust me, I felt like that. I was like, I'm just feel weak. I like cry all the time. Like, I don't know how to do this. But then the second that it mattered the most, for some reason, everything turned around for me. And I was able to like feel all this power and strength in me. And so like, I just think that's another thing too, is when you're thinking about a court case, you never know when you are going to have these incredibly empowering moments where you realize that you can fucking do this. And so keep that in mind too.
That's so well said. And it's another moment of this person who did this to you has to sit there and listen to everything you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, and if that also, I would encourage you, if your fucking perpetrator like looks like they're not paying attention or is whispering to their attorneys when you're testifying, like take a moment of silence and like you can clear your breath. You can say, you know, because you can take as much time as you want because that is your time to tell your story and they have to listen to it.
And then the last question was, what if the cross-examination destroys my mental health? I feel like we kind of just talked about this. First of all, your lawyer is going to prep you for the cross-examination. There's probably like, I don't think there was one question asked of me where I was like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, you are going to have a very good idea of the questions that you're going to be asked. You are going to have time to prep your answers. Maybe there might be one or two questions that you weren't as prepared for, but for the most part, like your lawyer should be prepping you for all of this. And if they don't, then you say, hey, before court today, like we're going to sit down and we're going to like have you prep me. For me, what really helped is remembering that the only arguments that the defense could make or ask me about were like just so fucking stupid in my head. Because, right, it's like, well, what were you wearing? Like all those stupid fucking arguments that are always used against survivors. Like, were you drinking? What were you wearing? Like, what were you doing? Like, all those to me are so fucking ridiculous that like when anything was asked that was like in the realm of those stupid questions, like I just found it humorous. Like, I know it sounds like fucked up, but like for me to get through it, I just realized that all of their arguments, whether the jury believed them or not, were just rooted in absolutely fucking nothing. And they're just like grasping at straws where they can. And so for me, I would just sit there and I would like listen to stuff that was definitely hard to hear. But then I remembered that like, they don't have anything on me. Like, they don't actually have anything on me. Like, they're like making shit up to try to make an argument. That really helped me.
Also, when the jury gets that piece of paper where, you know, you have like charge 1, specification 3, guilty or not guilty, the questions aren't did they assist in taking the bra off? The question is, do we believe that this person assaulted like that person A assaulted person B? Like ultimately that is the core of it all. And it can be very easy to sit there on the stand and be getting torn apart because the cross-examination will be very, very painful. They're going to attack you personally. They're going to try to attack your character. They're going to try to confuse you and make you think that you helped take clothing off, or because you scratched their back, it must have been consensual. Like that's their job, is to confuse you. But you have to keep going back to that core thing of, how did I feel after I was assaulted? I felt really bad. Or now I'm afraid to have sex with other people because this person did this to me. You have to go back to those painful moments and trust that no matter what sort of bullshit defense is going to be bringing up and saying during cross-examination or firing horrible questions at you about those core things about like how you know that this happened to you, you kind of have to stick to that.
Yeah.
Like stick to those pain points in a way.
Yeah. You just have to stick to your truth. Like they're going to say some shit and then like you might internalize that. You may think like, oh my God, maybe they're right. They're not fucking right. They're like making bullshit up as they go. Like your truth is what matters and you know it's fucking true. Like own your goddamn story. Own who you are, right?
Yeah.
Like when you are being asked these questions, you're being attacked by like defense or whatever. Like, no. Like, who gives a fuck? You know who you are. You know what your story is. And if you can own that, it will shine through in your cross-examination. It will shine through in your testimony. And the jury will hopefully see that. And will see someone who, like, they know what they've been through and they are owning that truth.
Court is there's so many nuances. There's so much time that it can take. I don't know. It feels like something that we'll probably be talking about forever.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I threw up on the day that I was testifying, like many, many times in the morning. So it's okay.
Yeah.
I was just nervous. Overall, the process of court is horrible. Like it's just awful. But we don't say that to discourage you and to make you think, oh, that sounds horrible. I don't want to be a part of that. We say it to be honest and transparent. But it being a grueling process doesn't mean that it wasn't powerful to sit up on a stand and force my perpetrator to listen to what they did to me. It didn't mean that the process didn't feel worth it. It just sucked. Like it was a horrible process, but I wouldn't have changed it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have yeah. Does that make sense?
Like if you could go back, you'd still do it exactly
I would do it
the
again.
same.
And I would do it again if it took even longer than it did.
All these things are going to have their bad moments, but they're also going to have good moments and they're going to have rewarding moments. There's going to be little wins regardless of how far you get, regardless of if they're found guilty or not guilty. In my mind, going through this court process was one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. And I know that sounds fucked up because like, obviously I wish that this had never happened to me, but we did something about it. You know, like we fought for something that mattered and we fought for something that was bigger than us, right? Like that's kind of what like our attorneys pushed forward throughout this whole court process was that like to the jury, they were like, we need to start holding perpetrators accountable. And right now, none of them are ever held fucking accountable. And that did something to the jury and they realized that, yeah, holy shit, like we need to fucking do something about it. And so if you decide to go through a legal proceeding, you are doing something to change the status quo, whether you realize it or not, regardless of what happens, regardless of what the outcome is. You are fighting for something that matters, for something that it matters within you, and for something that is so much bigger than you as well.
And that's not to say if you don't pursue a case that like poo-poo on you at all by any means. But if you do, that's one side of things that you could feel and experience. And I know I mentioned earlier, like little wins, but ultimately, like at the end of the day, like you might win the case, like it might be in favor of you, but nobody like really wins because ultimately like you were still assaulted and the person like is going to be in jail and like you have all of that. But that's that thing of you're not doing this to win. You're doing it for a personal sense of justice or to hold someone accountable or attempt to hold someone accountable.
But you're also doing this for every other survivor out there. Also on the days where you can't do it for yourself, do it for the greater good.
Yeah.
Like that's what I would think about. I'm like on the days where I felt my lowest, I just reminded myself that like I'm doing this to make the world a better place. And that helps a lot.
If you were to answer the overarching question of should I pursue a court case, how would you respond to that? just overarching?
Absolutely.
Do you think like there's a specific person that fits that? Or is it just anyone who has the remote instinct? Like if you're like sitting there thinking, I kind of wish I, like right now, if you're listening, you're like, I kind of want to pursue a court case. Like I kind of want to try. You should, right?
Yeah, I think you should. Maybe that's not right for you, and that is totally okay.
And there are people that will never get to a chance to go to court either. But once again, that goes back to that notification of like, if it didn't go to court, that doesn't mean that the perpetrator wasn't notified of what they did. It means that they were notified and that they were going to be looked into.
Yeah.
And that means something.
And they're still guilty.
Oh, and also reporting. Reports go a long way because there are a ton of there are a ton of assaults that are never reported, which means that statistically, the numbers are already fucked with sexual assault, but they're not even fully accurate. So if we can even just get reports to go up, then perhaps like, you know, it will be recognized as an even bigger problem.
Mm-hmm. The stats will be more accurate, which means the research on it will be more accurate, which will bring more attention to it. Like there's a lot of domino effects that could happen if reporting were to increase.
So that doesn't even necessarily mean pursuing a legal case, but just
reporting.
Hey, Mr. Authorities, this happened to me.
And if you do that, you don't have to proceed any further than that.
Right.
Like you don't have to go down a legal route. Like you can just keep it as that. I'm sure a lot of you guys have more questions, and we're so happy to answer them. If you want to send us an email at whattheydon'tsaythepodcast@gmail.com. We just want to be able to assist you guys in any way we can, and hopefully our advice is somewhat helpful and like shines some light and maybe makes this decision feel a little less daunting.
And it's different for every case. Like it really is a you decision, but taking the time to think about, is this something that I want to go through? Is this something that would help me to feel better? Or is this something that I just need for my healing journey? And the need being not the verdict, but the need just being to report it and pursue a legal case.
Yes. But regardless of what you do, go to therapy. Talk to your friends.
Yeah. We love you guys so much. Follow us on Instagram or TikTok at What They Don't Say Official for like more content and like other little stories from us. Follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and rate the show. That really helps let us know what you guys think about the show as a whole and helps us keep going. You guys are amazing. You're doing great. Hang in there.
Yeah.
We'll catch you on the flip side.
Cheers. Guys.
Woo.